something about you wanted us to turn off our video.
Oh, it's just optional. So the class is going to be recorded. If you feel more comfortable not having your face in a recording that others will see later, then you might like to turn off your camera, but not required.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, oh, what a nice turnout so far. Thanks for coming, everybody. I'm going to do one more set of clicks to record with. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. I'm Stacy from the Iowa City Public Library, and I'm so happy to see so many people here for Instagram. Before we get into any, oh, sorry, was that a question? Let's talk about muting for a second. So if you think you might have background noise, it's a good idea to mute yourself and then unmute when you want to ask a question or participate. So Cecil, I'm going to mute you just in case you aren't paying attention. Okay. All right, so before we get into Instagram, I would love to hear where people are coming from. Who has already tried Instagram before or has it right now? So a handful of people. And then, and do you feel like there's stuff that you're missing or anything in particular that you're hoping to learn about today so that I make sure I cover it?
I just signed up an account a while back and I've gone on once or twice, but I've never really done any video or anything. So I'm pretty much of a newbie, but I have set up an account.
Okay, great. And then for the, oh, go ahead.
I have been following Twitter for like over a year, and it's, you know, you're seeing this stream of people commenting and, you know, putting some pictures out there, but then you go to Instagram and you see pictures, but you don't really see like a conversation or a stream, and it's just confusing. So I was so glad when you offered this class. So I'm sure when I'm done, I'll know a lot more, but my niece just keeps sending us Instagram videos. Okay. So I figure I better start learning it.
Yeah, so that's a great point. And I'm planning to sort of talk about how will you decide using the big three social media, right? So between Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, why would you choose to be part of one or more of those? And so thanks for bringing that up, Daniel. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm sorry, Joan.
I'm a rank beginner, so I'm just trying to get oriented with the whole thing. My grandson mentions it all the time, but I'm clueless.
Okay, sure, that's perfect.
I want to just find out what it's all about. I spend too much time on Facebook as it is. I don't intend to do any other social media, but I thought I should know how it works.
Okay, Joan, maybe you'll be convinced. Maybe you'll know that you can skip it. Either way is good. Okay. So whether you've tried it before or not, totally fine. I want to just start by showing you what it looks like so that you have a visual if you haven't really seen it before, and then I'll get into lots of details about what it is, why you'd want to use it, and all the different ways that you can share things on there. So give me a second while I share my screen. I'm going to be sharing my phone because Instagram is really optimized for smartphones. And so showing you any other way wouldn't make 100% sense. So let's see. It's just taking a second. All right, hopefully you can see my phone screen now. Let's see. All right, so here we are. This is Instagram. Oh my goodness, hang on. It's trying to get me to upload my photos from my phone. Okay, so general things that I'm seeing here, stories up here, I'll explain what those are. Here's a post from NASA. I made a fake account last night so that we would see some examples of like what you would see if you were new and had only liked a few things. So I've got a post from NASA, some suggestions. I'm not following much, so I'm all caught up. Usually it takes quite a lot to reach that little check marks. Here's a post from National Geographic. Another one from NASA, because those are the only two things I'm following pretty much. A hashtag that I'm following. So I'll explain all of that in a little bit. Here I'm following the library's Instagram page, and here's a video. So that's just so that you have a visual while I start talking a little bit here. So what is Instagram? There's over 1 billion accounts on Instagram, 140 million of which roughly are US users. And with millions and millions of posts a day, it is the 4th most used app on the internet. Instagram was founded in 2010 as a simple way to share good-looking edited photographs. At the time, Facebook wasn't really optimized for photos. Twitter didn't really have a great way to share photos. And so Instagram filled a hole for people who liked the visual part of things. And Facebook, you could share photos, but there wasn't much editing that was available. And so Instagram's editing and filter options were kind of groundbreaking at the time. Instagram was purchased by Facebook in 2012. So as always, we want to just mention safety practices. So this is Facebook would have, some of your information if you join Instagram, which of course they collect certain things and use it for ad revenue, which is why Instagram is free. So if you want to read more about that, you can find Instagram's privacy policy online or look up some articles if you want to dig into specifics. It's no more dangerous than any other app or website that collects some of your data. Okay, so as I said, how would you decide if Instagram should be part of your social media arsenal? So of the 3 big ones, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all 3 allow you to post an image plus text. If you wanted to think about text length, if that matters to you, obviously Twitter's is the shortest. They'll let you type 280 characters or letters. Instagram lets you do 2,200 per post, and they display just the first 125, and then you click a link to see more. Whereas Facebook posts can have up to 63,000 characters. So if part of your whole point is to type something substantive, then you might want to think about whether you can do that within Instagram or not. In general, it seems like Twitter's often about current news or witty remarks, or as Daniel said, conversations that kind of build up over time. And Facebook, I would say, is a bit more rambling. You have your posts and your friends and families, but they also have events that you can sign up for, local organizations and businesses having a presence in Facebook, groups for like-minded people, etc. So Instagram skews a bit younger than Facebook, statistics-wise, and its focus is still very visual. It's about posting photos and videos with filters that are more advanced than Facebook's. And it might also help to note that Instagramming is a verb. For example, people Instagramming among the cherry blossoms. And Instagrammable is an adjective. Merriam-Webster gives an example of going somewhere for an Instagrammable moment with a celebrity. So while Instagram does have a reputation for people carefully and artificially showing off just the best parts of their lives, it has grown beyond that, and you don't have to feel stifled in the way you use it. Let's see. So as far as devices go, you can use Instagram from a mobile device, or you can also use it on a desktop web browser. It's only easy to post from the mobile app, though. There's a workaround to post from a web browser where basically you try to convince it that it's a mobile device. And you can look online for those instructions, or I can email a link if anyone is interested. So I use Instagram on my phone, but then I do sometimes view what other people have shared on my web browser, just for fun as well. So if you join and you plan not to post any photos, then you could easily use it on a computer if that matters to you. Okay, any questions before I start sharing my screen again? Okay, then I'll do that. Feel free to interrupt me at any point though. I won't necessarily be able to see you very well. So don't be shy about interrupting me verbally. Okay, so are you seeing my Instagram page again here? So let's talk first about accounts. So setting up an Instagram account will take an email address and then you'll set up a username. So you'll see here that I set up this sort of throwaway username for today's class. A lot of people have clever usernames or something that's close to their real name. You can decide what makes sense for you. When you first join, it'll ask you if you want to find your friends via Facebook or the contacts that are in your phone. And you can decide whether that's useful for you or if you'd rather not connect things so much or give Instagram so much access. And then you'll see you can add a profile picture and you can do some settings up in these 3 lines. So I have not completed my profile yet. I haven't put in my real name. I haven't put in my bio. So I could spend time creating my little profile here if I wanted to. I just want to show you in the settings that security is one of the biggest decisions you'll make. Sorry, not security, privacy. So you have a choice between letting your account be private or public. The difference is public accounts, anything that you share on there, people could find. So they either could search for your username or your real name, the real name that you give them, that is. Or if you wrote a description that you said, this is my calico cat, and they search for calico cats, someone might be able to see your picture. If you make a private account, then only your followers, so people that you've allowed to follow you, will be able to see what you post. So are there any questions about why you'd want to do that? You probably already have an inclination and you can trust that inclination, and you're always able to change it later if it turns out that's not working for you. Okay. Let's see. And then the notification settings is probably another big thing. So you can see, don't have any notifications right now for Instagram because I try to keep my digital life pretty streamlined, and I already feel the siren call of Instagram multiple times a day. I don't need extra pushes for me to open it up. But if you want to make sure that you're staying on top of things, you're certainly welcome to set up notifications for it. So that's my profile, which you can see is pretty spare right now. I'll show you an example of someone else's that's more robust. So I'm going to go to this home button down here. This is where you'll spend a lot of time. This is my feed. So anything that I've taken the time to follow or hashtags to follow is all going to show up here. This is sort of the equivalent on Facebook of scrolling through what your friends have posted. So since my friends right now are basically NASA and National Geographic, it's a little different than if this was your cousin and your nephew and whoever. But you can see this post here from NASA. So I'm seeing their username up here, their profile picture. These 3 dots are if I have sort of a problem with it, if this was offensive material or somehow problematic, I could report this to Instagram. But also if I wanted to copy or share this with others, I can do that from these 3 dots. Turning on post notifications is sort of like Daniel was mentioning. If this was a really important post to me and I wanted to know if anybody comments or what happens with this post, I can make sure that I'll hear about it. And I'll show you more of what that means. Finally, muting and unfollowing is just a way of curating how much you see content from this particular user, which is NASA. So if I was tired of seeing NASA's posts, but I still wanted to follow them, I could mute them for a while. Or if I no longer want to see what they share, I can unfollow. So I'm going to cancel that. And we'll scroll down and see this next section. So 1.4 million people have liked this. That is inflated. So don't let that be your standard for how many people will like yours. But what I can do is I can show that I like it by tapping on this heart. The other way to do the heart that's faster for some people is to double tap right onto the picture. So I'm going to do that. It's going to confirm my heart, whichever way makes more sense to you. The little speech bubble is the comments, and the little paper airplane is about sharing. So you've got more than one way to get to those things. I'm going to tap on this more here because you see they've started to write a description, but it's truncated. So you can see that within this one post, there's actually kind of a lot of text hidden here. And they've integrated a tag for another Instagram account, and they've put in some emojis and then a whole bunch of hashtags. And I don't know how much we want to talk about hashtags, but I'll talk some more when I do a sample post. And then you can see that 5,200 people have commented. So I can view them all. And you'll see that it does bury the replies and things. So you could sort of get into a conversation here, but it's a little more ephemeral than Twitter's conversations maybe. So you could spend all day in that one post pretty much. If I wanted to, oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. What about up there at the top where it had like where to share and everything? What about that bookmark?
Yeah.
Icon? Is
Yeah,
that then
so-
you can go back and look at everything that you've bookmarked?
Exactly. So if I tap this bookmark, I saved it to a
Oh,
collection.
okay. So you can have collections of different subjects and things too.
Yeah. So part of the way that people interact with Instagram is that you'll open it up and you'll see the latest things that people you've followed have shared. And if you don't look at all of it, the next time you open up Instagram, you might have missed some things. Or if you go back up to the top and refresh it, you might have missed some things that you didn't scroll all the way down to. So it's easy to sort of miss content. So if something matters to you or you want to come back to it and spend more time reading or thinking about it, bookmarking it like that is a good idea. And then you can find that. I'm going to tap on my little, this is my personal icon down here, and I can find my collections. Oh yeah, so it's my saved ones here. And there it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, good question. Any other questions about what we're seeing when we see this post? You'll see that there's little empty hearts here. I can like other people's comments. So it's very similar to Facebook in that way. Okay, well, why don't I try to share a photo and then we'll see what it looks like from the creator standpoint. So
could I ask a question first? If you go back to what is the circle with the wavy line, the far right icon? What does that signify?
this one up here.
Yes.
So those are messages. So that's supposed to look like a speech bubble with writing in it.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll talk more. We can talk briefly about that now because I'm not going to go into it a lot. So this is messages. So you can communicate privately with people that you're following, just like you would do the private messages in Facebook or other things like that. So I could search for someone like National Geographic. I'm not going to send them a private message, but if this was my brother or whoever, I can say, hey, did you see this other picture? And I could put a link in there to a picture that I think he might like.
Thank you.
I don't use the message part very often in Instagram. Is anybody here who's had Instagram? Do they use the messages very much? To be honest, I forget that it's an option.
Okay, and then the icons along the bottom of the screen that you have up right now.
Yeah, I'd like to wait to talk about the icons on the bottom because that's more about consuming what other people are sharing. And I want to switch just for a little bit to creating content. So I'm about to talk about this plus sign. But were there other questions before I start to explain how to share something? Okay, then let's do a photo quick and see what we've got. I took some not very special photos in the library yesterday. And let's do this one because I think this will illustrate a couple different things. So for a long time, Instagram only allowed square pictures. I think that's true. And so if you had a rectangular one, like your camera naturally takes, you didn't have any options. But in order to get, to do what I just did, I just I just forgot the term for this. I'm expanding and contracting it with my fingers, right? So that it's squishing it down so that it is more rectangular than square. If I don't like that after all, I can expand it so that it fills and is very square. And you'll see along the bottom here and at the top that I'm making a new post. So I can drag along here for other options, but I want to do a post to start with because that's the bread and butter of Instagram. So I'm going to set it to post, and I'm going to not use this feature, but you can. This is basically sandwiching multiple pictures in a pile so that people see them as sort of one album to swipe through in a single post. So once I've picked my picture and I've sized it how I want it to be, I'm going to go to next. And here's where you can spend a lot of time in Instagram with the filters. So just tapping through the different filters that they have to offer until you find one that looks good to you. That's what a lot of people do. And within one, if you think, oh, that was interesting, but it's a little too intense or not intense enough. This one's good. You can edit within that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You can tap the filter again, and it lets you control it. So if you look in the middle part of this, you'll see that the darkness and the shadows are changing some. You don't have to get that far into controlling the filters. You can just find one that looks decent and go with it. Or if you don't like any of the filters, leave it on your normal default that it came as. Another option in here is some basic editing. So just like with the photo part of your camera, you can do some basic edits within Instagram as well. So adjusting is going to tilt it for me. And then if you are a good photographer and you want extra grid lines to line things up, tapping this shape up at the left, you'll see that adds in extra lines if that's useful for you, or you can get rid of the lines altogether. It does default to this grid of sort of a tic-tac-toe shape. And that's because of the rule of thirds in photography. If you've heard of that, basically at all of these intersections of these lines tends to be where the human eye likes to go. And so if you can put the most important thing at one of these intersections, it can tend to be a pleasing composition. But you can also throw that out the window if you don't like that. So that's the adjust part. I'm going to cancel that. And you can go along, you can control the brightness, contrast. Structure does something kind of interesting to the highlights and lowlights. I'm not sure what exactly, but it's all just room for playing. Saturation, color, etc. The color is kind of interesting because you can control both the shadows and highlights. So if I wanted warm shadows as opposed to cold shadows, you can make a bunch of differences there and then make my highlights some different color. It can get kind of wild.
Wow.
So if I'm happy with the editing that I've done, I can move on to next. At the top here, this looks like a little magic wand. That's a feature that you'll see a lot of times in photo editing software, where it's gonna, based on some kind of algorithm, decide what maybe your photo needs. And so you can use that if that's useful to you, but I always forget that that's there. Okay, so I'm about to share my my picture here, but I've got time to write a caption. And so I can write, you know, this is the magazine room of the Iowa City Public Library, whatever I want to write here. This is not going to be tidy. I can do an @ if I wanted to tag another Instagram account that's associated with this, or if I took this photo of a friend and I wanted to tag them so that they know that their picture is up online. But I don't have to tag the Iowa City Public Library if I don't want to. I can also do a hashtag down here. And you can spend a lot of time thinking about hashtags. The function of these is to help your posts be found by people who have similar interests to you. So I can start typing library to see what is out there. And you'll know if it's a popular one based on how many posts it's had. And so this is a library, so sure, I'll take that as a library. It's also like a hanging sculpture. So let's see if there's a sculpture tag. Got lots to choose from. The whole point of this is that I'm hoping that somebody else who likes sculptural things, let's go sculptural, will look for that tag and find this as an example of something they enjoy. It's really just about making connections. You also can create your own hashtags. So for instance, when the derecho happened last year, there was hashtag derecho, hashtag derecho 2020, etc. And so if you need to start one because nothing exists, you should do so. And then I'm doing this creative project called the 100 Days Project. Now that I say that, I'm not sure I got that completely right, but they're encouraging people to create their own hashtags. So for instance, hashtag 100 days of watercoloring dinosaurs, or whatever it is that they're planning to do as their creative endeavor. So nothing will stop you from making your own hashtag. Another option on here is that you can do a location if you wanted to share where you are. And then I'm going to say okay for my caption. So the location is in here. I could say that this was at, Iowa City. It was literally at the library, so that's fine. The benefit of sharing your location tag is that others will be able to click on that location and see all the pictures that people have shared there. So if you were on vacation, you're in Costa Rica, and you tag your things as Costa Rica, other people will be able to see that as part of a bigger shared Costa Rica album, sort of.
Will they be able to do, will they be able to do that even if you've said that you're in a previous option, you've said you only want your followers to see it?
Right. If your account is set to private, they won't be able to see that.
Okay.
Good point. Yep. So some of the functions are really most useful if you've made your account public. Don't spend your time adding a ton of hashtags if it's only going to be seen by your 5 friends, right? That's not how they'll use it. And then this bottom part here is that you can share at the same time to other social media. So if you want to save yourself some effort and every picture that you put on Instagram, you want to also go to your Facebook page or Twitter, then you can either choose that in the moment. This is probably going to be upset because I don't have a Facebook account attached, but you can attach yours. And then you can also, in the advanced settings, choose to always do that or just the one time. So I'm going to go ahead and share this. It's posting. And then it usually shows you at the very top so you can check that it looks the way you imagined. So here's my profile picture, my name. This is my location, right? Remember when I did the location tab? So that's a little confusing right now, but if it was, you know, Hickory Hills Park, that's what it would say there. And then my picture looks good. My caption is here. My hashtags are links, so I can tap on library and immediately see what other people have tagged as libraries and have fun that way. If you get down the hashtag rabbit hole, you can find another one with the same hashtag, and then that wasn't a good example. Let me try another one. A lot of times they'll have lots of hashtags, right? Like just hashtag after hashtag. And so you can spend time finding the ones that you like, and then following that hashtag. This is sort of like, does anybody remember RSS feeds? If there's a topic that you're interested in or a word that you search for sometimes, following it means that it'll show up in your feed without any extra effort. Okay, so let's come back to the home. And that was sharing a photo. Before I move on to stories, were there any questions from the people who have Instagram or haven't had it about specific photo features we should talk about? Okay, good enough. If it comes up later, feel free to ask. So I've been glossing over this row up here. These are the stories. This is a feature that Instagram added in 2016, inspired by Snapchat, which is where like your post only lasts for so many hours and then it disappears. So now there are hundreds of millions of stories shared on Instagram every day. And when you compare it to how polished Instagram photos have a reputation of being, stories tend to be looser, less perfect, more goofy, since they're not going to stick around forever. So they show up here at the top of your screen. And when someone has shared a new story, there's going to be this little colorful circle around their profile picture indicating that there's something new for you to watch. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on the Iowa City Public Library. Whoa. Right, so that was a little zany, but that was sort of animated and interesting. And so that's going to play for me. Oh, and in this very moment, it's giving me some tips. So tap to go forward, you can pause, you can go back and see a story that just happened, or I'm going to swipe to move to the next story. Here's National Geographic. This is just sort of an advertisement from them. or it's a teaser for an article or a video that they have. A lot of times it might be someone's cat doing something silly, or a funny picture that someone types a joke onto. It's just sort of ways of interacting with people that doesn't have to be quite so, formal and pretty. So in general, let's see, images, if you make a story, are shown for 5 seconds, and videos in stories can last up to 15 seconds. But I found that the average length of an Instagram story is 2.8 seconds. And so remember that people have short attention spans. I'm going to show you 2 different ways to make a story. I tend to start from this plus sign for things, but you'll see that they also are encouraging me to start my own story from tapping right here. So let me just show you from the plus sign, because this is where I've got these options along the bottom. And so I'm going to make a story. Since I did not tap on any of my pictures before I switched to the story, it's assuming that I want to record something live. And there are a lot of extra features that come with the live recording. They're all here along the left. So I'm trying to use the mouse and my finger at the same time. So if I expand this a little bit, so I can create, which would be like drawing things on top of me or adding some features. Whoops. I can make a boomerang. This is where it's like a video that repeats. It's very short. It bounces forwards and backwards. So let me just do something quick for a boomerang. So I'm going to tap this little infinity button, and then it puts it on repeat. I'm not flexing my hand anymore. So if I don't like that, I'm going to get out of that option and see these other options. So you can do this layout where there will be multiple pictures, multi-capture. If I do this, it's going to let me take consecutive photos. And then when I go next, it's going to let me choose from them. So you might do that if your kid or your pet was doing something interesting and you wanted to be able to use these other features on top of it, but you weren't sure that they would stay still for just the right shot.
All this work for something that's going to last 5 seconds?
Yeah, it's going to last 5 seconds, that people will see it for 5 seconds, and then after 24 hours, nobody else will see it again, except that you'll be able to still see it.
Okay.
It's a creative effort. So if this is ridiculous to you, the story part is not at all essential to use Instagram well.
Okay.
It's just if you wanted to have some fun. Let me show you just a couple more. So photo booth is sort of what it sounds like. It's going to take like 4 fast pictures. So here we go. It's giving me a countdown. Right, so silly faces, and then it will create this little fast video, right? Nobody needs to see that for any longer than this. One other fun one is the super zoom, where you have these choices. So it's going to basically zoom in on the picture with some extra details. So the sad face one is kind of funny. It's gonna load. And then it'll show me again. I don't know why you would want to use these. It's just for fun, right? Okay. The other way to start creating a story is from a picture. So if I have this this picture of the sculpture in the library stairwell, if that looks familiar, it's been over a year since you've probably seen it. I can do that as a story by coming down here to my photo reel. That's not it. Here it is. And I've got these options along the top for how to edit it. So I can add the sparkles. These are like different layers on top of what it looks like. Some of them are more or less dramatic. Right, so you can get silly with these little animations that Instagram has built in, or come back to none. And then there are little stickers that you could add on top. And they're not just stickers, so these are somewhat powerful. You can put in a location tag this way. You can mention a friend this way. You can put in a real hashtag that you type in what it is. You also can do a poll, so you could ask people to interact with your story by choosing some selections that you create. You can do a countdown if you're trying to build excitement up to a certain date. Take a quiz, etc. So there's lots of different things. I'm just going to show you the poll. Is this your favorite stairwell? Yes or no, but you can control what those features are, and you can also move this around so that it's in a nice spot on your story.
So when you say story, it's really a visual story. We're not talking about words here.
Yeah, so you could put words in it, but you're right. It is a visual story, and I think they probably use that term because it's not lasting forever. People will catch your story if they're lucky. If they log in and they choose to tune into your story, then they'll hear it. And I use hear loosely. They'll see it. So this is not an essential part of Instagram, but it's accounting for, I don't know if this is true. I looked at lots of different statistics. It's approximately half of the content on Instagram are these short, sort of disposable stories. So it's worth playing with if that's interesting to you. And I'll just mention that this lets you draw squiggles or, write on top of it. You can control the color, the brush, things like that. And you can also type on top of it. So you can tell a textual story if you need to. You could also, if it was a recording, you can say things and, have it be an audible story too. So I'm going to save this to my story. And it's telling me about my stories archive. So I'll be able to see them after they disappear from my Instagram page, but other people will only see them for 24 hours. So, okay. And now I've got the little colored circle around my profile because I have a story that's live right now. And who could have possibly liked it? Here's a good example, right? So my little heart just lit up with a red circle and a little thing. Somebody liked something that I shared. Let's find out who it was. So some Instagram user that I don't know liked my photo. How did they even find it, right? So if I am like, remind me of this photo, remember that I did these hashtags. So I did library and sculptural. They probably were looking under the library hashtag, right? And they liked what they saw. Of course they did. If I am interested in this found in a library book person, I can tap on their name here and I can learn about this Lisa person and see some more about her. This is a good time to just talk about someone's account. So there's her profile picture. Here's how many posts she's made, the number of people who follow her, and the number of people that she's following. I can choose to start following her, and then I would see everything that she posts on my feed. I could send a message as well. And then I can look back and see all of the posts that this person has made. And now that I'm saying this, they probably don't want to be in our recording, so I'm going to get back out of there. And you'll see in my activity feed, since I've only had one person like me so far, they're filling it in with suggested other people so that I can get my Instagram off the ground. But this little heart, if I come back, is where everybody loves to see activity. So this is where you get your little serotonin or dopamine push from people interacting with your stuff. Let's see. So that was stories. Everybody sort of clear on the distinction between photos and stories, and why you would want to use one or the other?
I've forgotten how you just even draw up a picture.
Yeah, so it's all this plus sign.
Okay.
So I'm going to tap on that plus sign again. I'm sorry that's a little video of me. And so I've got my posts, my stories, and my reels. Reels is a new feature from Instagram as of August last year. And it's sort of similar to, let's get out of there. Sort of similar to TikTok or Vine, where it's short videos that are designed for other people to be creative in response to them. So I haven't used Reels on Instagram, and so I had to just look up some information about it. It says it's designed with entertainment in mind, an area that Instagram wants to work on, and Reels are permanent, whereas the stories disappear after 24 hours. Reels are 15-second videos where you can use their audio, text, and other effects to make changes. But it's so new, and I would say that since we're mostly beginners, the odds that you would want to get into Reels are sort of slim. And it's more, I think, for the people who are trying to earn money off of Instagram as an influencer or as a personality. So if you're interested in Reels, you could look that up separately, but I just wanted to point that out.
So if from this page, if you want to add a photo, you click on the plus, and then can you go into your photo library and pull something out of there, or what?
Yeah, so that's what I'm looking at here. This is my photo library that I'm scrolling through. And I can leave it on post, which is the default, and I can choose more than one thing by clicking on this little pile. So I can do 1, 2, 3, and then share all those 3 at once.
But this is from your photo library on Instagram or your computer photo library, which?
Right, so Instagram has access to the collection of photos on my phone.
Okay.
So that's what they're seeing under this recents. So I took this with my regular camera on my phone yesterday, all these pictures and videos, and now I can choose from them within Instagram.
Thank you.
Yeah, the other option, if you like, which I don't tend to like as much, is that I could take a photo right in this moment within Instagram by clicking on this camera. And so I can take a selfie, and here's instantly I'm at my filters, and I can choose one that I like and post it, right?
And why don't you like this feature?
I don't know. I think a person just gets used to taking pictures with their camera feature in their phone. It's no good reason. So it works perfectly fine. If you're planning to take a picture for Instagram, you might as well use the camera within Instagram. That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I guess I tend to think of myself as taking photos for posterity, right? And then deciding to put it on Instagram feels like a separate action to me. But if you are out Instagramming among the cherry blossoms, as we said before, then you might as well be in Instagram.
Okay.
There is one other thing that you might see come up. It's called IGTV, Instagram television. It's where posts are a little bit longer videos and can go up to an hour. I don't think you need to worry about that. Just know that you might see that acronym somewhere. And with that, let's move on to how you can view other people's things. And spending some time curating your feed will pay off for your daily scrolling. You'll see lots of images and topics that you're interested in. And so the main place to do that is this magnifying glass or this explore page. So you'll see that last night I did some cat searches just to get this populated with something. And now they really believe that I'm interested in cats, in addition to peppering it in with some NASA and some other popular things. So for instance, this person who's got the video to the right, if I tap here, you'll see that it says this is part of Reels, right? So this person is like hoping to become a personality on Instagram. Whereas if I click on this cat, this is just a post that somebody shared from Texas. 12,000 people liked it. So they put it up on my page because they thought I might like it since I looked at some cats yesterday. I can do this back arrow to get back out of here, or if I wanted to start following this person, or I could interact with it. So I can tap the heart to show that that's a cute cat. I can write in the comments, etc. And they're telling me why they showed this. This was posted 3 days ago by this person, but they're basing it on other photos I liked. If I didn't want to see this in my feed, I can come to these three dots and say that I'm not interested. So if there was something that really went against my grain, I can help their algorithm understand what I'm interested in by taking the time to interact with those. Let's see. So just once again, the house icon is going to be everything that I'm following and the accounts that I know. The magnifying glass or the explore page is going to be almost entirely people that I'm not following, people that are new to me. And then you can also do some searching. If I come back to the top here, you can see there's a search box. I could search by a keyword of something that I like. I could search by a hashtag. Lots of magazines have presences on here. Some businesses have presences. So you can search for those kinds of things, famous people, whatever. If I am living in Iowa City and I want to see what local organizations are in here, I can search Iowa City as a keyword and see the top results and follow those. I could treat it as a place and see what posts have been made that were tagged to Iowa City recently, or accounts that start or have the word Iowa City in them. So if I want to follow downtown Iowa City, I've got this follow button right here, or I can look at their posts first to make sure that I like it. So since they are a public account, there was no follow-up step to follow them. If this was a private account, it would say that a request had been made and it would give them a chance to either allow me or not allow me to join in. One thing to remember, everybody can see who you're following and who's following you at all times. So if I were to go to the followers up here, I can see everybody. If I go to see who the Iowa City Downtown District is following, who they want to see in their feed, I'm seeing everybody. So it's not that private for that part. If you want to, if there's like a celebrity that you're embarrassed that you like, everyone will know that you're following that celebrity. Let's see. I already talked about searching for a hashtag, but let me just show you again. So I like books. It's giving me just some top results. I can choose accounts that have the words books, Or if I want to get into hashtags, this is a good way. I can see that Bookstagrammers, like short for taking over Instagrammers, has a lot of posts, but Books of Instagram has 10 times as many, Bookstagram, etc. I can look at each of these and see if this hashtag is matching the kind of content that I want, but I'm already following Books of Instagram. So let's try Bookstagram. And if I want to see this kind of content, I can follow this one too. And it says it'll show me a few of the top posts each week. Your interests will vary, right? So there are lots of different subcultures within Instagram that I want to talk about a little bit. And I see we're getting close to time. I will be happy to stay late for your questions. I didn't realize I was running so long. Subcultures. So celebrities are a big part of Instagram. There was a post of Beyonce announcing her pregnancy. That was famously one of the most popular Instagram posts of all time. You might remember a story from 2019 where some people decided to boot Kylie Jenner out of the record for the most likes on Instagram. There were 18 million likes on a photo of her daughter, and people got together to like a simple photo of an egg. And they added up to 54 million times so that they kicked her out of the top spot. So there's both sort of the sublime and the ridiculous all together on Instagram. You'll also notice lots of content from businesses on Instagram. Obviously, this always happens with social media. People use it for themselves for their sort of low-level interactions, and then it sort of gets commercialized. So your eyes will sort of learn to filter out any paid content or ads that sort of get mixed into your feed over time. But since this account is new, I don't know that they have any ads in here for me yet. That will come later, I'm sure. Some other subcultures in Instagram that might be interesting to know about. There was a whole trend where Instagram therapists came to be. So people who were therapists in real life were sharing some of their content and recommendations on Instagram. And I follow a handful of these. It's really nice because if you think about when people talk about the negative effects of social media and how it can sort of build up a sense that, you know, you're not good enough or that your life isn't where it should be, following these therapists is really nice because they'll have sort of helpful things to sort of get you through your life. Another trend was Instagram poets. And so you can do a search here for poets of Instagram, things like that. And poets started sharing little short snippets of poetry online. And so I'm going to follow this community where they've already done some of the work of finding the good poems. And then that way it will, it'll sort of fill in my feed with the kind of things that I enjoy seeing. If you enjoy seeing athletes sharing pictures of themselves or memes or videos of hippos or whatever it is that you're into, you can do a little work to get it so that your feed will fill in with that kind of content. Let me stop sharing for the moment and just point out one last thing about the culture. So Instagram has this reputation of being a place where people can form negative comparisons to their life. So if you decide to join Instagram, you might just want to stop and think, how are you going to approach this? How will you stop yourself from scrolling through it for infinity? Because once you've built up your feed, there's going to be a lot of great stuff that you want to look at. And so for me, I set a 5-minute timer on my screen time on my phone because I figure 5 minutes worth of pretty pictures and content should be enough for me. You can decide how you want to approach it for you. All right, what kind of questions do you have for the people who already were Instagram users? Was there anything new that was helpful, or do you have remaining questions?
Yes, Stacy, Tom here. Could you clarify the whole idea of how long these posts last? I mean, you know, when I scroll through this, I see thousands of pictures. They weren't all put up there within the last 24 hours, were they?
The ones that we looked at probably were. There's just so very much content being put onto Instagram that you're usually seeing pretty fresh stuff as you scroll through. But the difference between the posts and the stories is that the posts will stay up forever. I mean, you can go back and delete the post, just like in Facebook, you could go back and delete something that you posted. But the stories are the ephemeral ones that only last for 24 hours. So when I found the person's account that I was looking at, or NASA's account, as I scrolled down and looked at some examples of their past posts, those weren't all from today. Those were from the past several weeks. And they stay there forever as sort of a collection.
Okay, thanks.
So if you have, after a while, you have the feeling that you have too many posts on your account, can you delete some of them? They will stay there forever unless you delete them, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, you can delete them. You also can always go back and change the caption that you wrote. So you have control over what's on there.
Is that the same for Facebook? If there are a gazillion posts on Facebook, can you get rid of them, or are they there forever?
You can delete your Facebook posts. They don't make it go fast though. It probably takes 2 or 3 clicks per post. So in the old days, it sort of bothered me. On Facebook, this would be like over a decade ago. And I would periodically go through and delete some of my posts because maybe it was a joke that didn't land and nobody interacted with it, and I'd get it out of there. But that takes a lot of effort to delete a bunch.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Stacy. This was a really good overview. Just
Yeah.
exactly what I needed.
Thank you. Well, if you have further questions, I'll be sending a follow-up email, and I'll be happy to help you out with anything in particular that comes up. If you give it a try or you log in later today and think, oh gosh, there was that thing I wondered about. And this was a part of a little series on the big social media sites. So we did Facebook already. TikTok was yesterday. Those are already on the library's YouTube channel. And then we'll do basic editing within YouTube next week. And a colleague of mine is going to teach Twitter next month. So if you're interested in getting caught up to speed on these sort of big name social media sites, we should be able to help you if you're interested.
Thank you. This was really a good presentation.
Okay, thank you so much for coming. Let me know if you have any further questions. And I see chat. Oh, thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Stacy.
Go out and take some pictures.